409 of the VoIP Users Conference. By the way, 409, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any, which I doubt, who knows what HTTP 409 error is? Quick. No one, huh? Okay, it's conflict. I'll bet BKW can explain that. No. Okay. Moving along then. Look it up, folks. 409 is conflict. It's a conflict of resources. I think it has to do with the date when you try to upload something that's older than what's recent. Anyway, no announcements, no old business other than me. But we do have a great guest. We have been running after Michael. You with us, right? Michael Graves?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Michael Graves and I have been literally running after AudioCodes for how many years would you say, Michael? 3, 4?
Yeah, about that.
And we actually have, what is James gesturing about? No audio? There's some problem?
No, everything's fine.
We have been running after AudioCodes, and finally Alan Percy caught us. Alan, welcome to VUC.
Yeah, my pleasure. I apologize for taking so long to finally connect with you folks. I really appreciate you having me today.
We're really pleased to have you, Alan. And who better than AudioCodes Director of Marketing to explain to us what the heck AudioCodes does. Give us a view, before we get into today's topic, which has to do with Asterisk, give us the big view. And by the way, we got the free switch, one of the free switch dudes here, so we have to be careful not step on any toes. Okay. But anyway, Alan, give us the first view. First of all, I'd like to know a little bit about your background, where you came from.
Sure,
and then,
sure.
Then AudioCodes and the big picture, and then we'll get to our topic, okay?
Sounds good. So I've been with AudioCodes just about 11 years. I've been in the industry I stopped counting at 20. My original engagement with telecommunication solutions was actually back when I was a software engineer. I have a computer science degree from the University of Buffalo and developed software, embedded software, for about the first 15 years of my career, developing device drivers and low-level software. And probably about 12 or 15 years ago, got involved in doing voice messaging systems, and of course that a lot of the voice messaging systems are based on packetizing and recording voice, and I sort of caught the bug. Mm-hmm. Slowly over time, I've gotten more engaged in some of the marketing activities, and I joined AudioCodes in 2001. Saw them as an early leader in the voice packetization and voice over IP space, and have slowly worked my way into the position I am now, where I'm managing the North American marketing, messaging, our social media, and some of our strategic partners. So it's a real pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you folks having me.
And Alan, just to be clear, you guys and gals and whoever else is there at AudioCodes, actually, there is hardware and software involved in the business. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Matter of fact, AudioCodes if you were to look at the company as a whole, as a technology company, well, first of all, the software that runs these devices is really the core. The hardware platforms themselves are just, it's a place to run the software, but the key intellectual property is in the software, not only in the voice packetization and voice compression software, but the SIP protocol, the user interface, the management software. It's primarily a software product that needs specialized hardware or specialized appliances to run.
Okay. So our topic today has to do with scaling and larger deployments, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so what I brought today was a slide deck to discuss how our role in the open source community, because I know a lot of you folks obviously are pretty involved in the open source space, and we spent a good chunk of the time 2 weeks ago at AstraCon talking to folks about open source solutions. And I thought it made sense for us to share it here. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to switch over to my slide deck here.
Great.
And let's step through this. The obligatory starting slide with some contact information. But the most important thing is an explanation of where we fit in the overall communications market. And just, a reminder, the good old days of telecommunications was done very vertically, right? If you bought a Nortel switch, needed Nortel phones and Nortel equipment, If you bought something from Mitel or something from Siemens, again, it was all vertically integrated. The market has switched to obviously a horizontal market where those software applications ride in different modalities, being either mobile or UC or cloud, or there's lots of other implementation styles. But those applications, those software applications, still need a platform that can connect them to the outside world, whether it be to the public network, whether it be to other systems in the enterprise or service provider, or whether it be to users at their desktops, so devices or desktop devices. And the key role is strategically where we've chosen as a company to be is in that layer of hardware that integrates those software applications to the network. Now, initially we started out primarily helping folks build their applications to connect to the TDM network, but that's been shifting over to the IP, pure all IP environment. So it's shifted some of the products that we've had to build. So we, mostly are known for our media gateways because of the, the need to connect these SIP-based software applications to the legacy TDM equipment. But we're seeing more and more of our business shift to our session border controllers, which helps integrate software applications into an all IP environment. So just a quick note, we're 600 employees, about 120 or so are based here in the States. The lion's share of our R&D is done either in a headquarters in Airport City, which is just outside Tel Aviv, or in our Raleigh-Durham office in North Carolina. So a lot of folks sort of ask us, what? Open source? Why AudioCodes an open source? And we try to help some of our our partners and customers understand that we've always seen open source is an important part of a larger pie. We obviously spend a lot of time with Microsoft. You've seen us spend a tremendous amount of marketing money on Microsoft over the last few years. Avaya has always been one of our biggest customers. But we've always seen open source as having playing a very sort of special role in the marketplace, especially for AudioCodes. Mostly because it's an important alternative. We see all the time that the Asterisk and the other open source platform vendors build really creative solutions that sometimes are really leading. It's sort of the canary in the cave. They'll show opportunities or create applications that we didn't quite envision. And again, it's that flexibility and openness. And we also see it as a good alignment from a technology standpoint because we've made a serious commitment to SIP and other open standards, and certainly the open source community leverages those, and it's a good close fit. And plus, we see a lot of open source solutions in education. And we see them sort of, a lot of folks being, kids coming out of college that know these open source platforms and they're sort of educated. And those are the, the CIOs of the future, as we call it. So, again, we see this as a great opportunity for some of the partners to create customized solutions. So that's why we've been allocating some of our time and resources to the open source market. And this holds true if we look at it at the market as an overall revenue opportunity, for the financial side of our house. We look at the market, we see, geez, there's this significant chunk of the pie of solutions that are based on open source, and whether it be Digium, Asterisk, FreeSwitch, EZUS, any one of the other communication open source platforms, it's a reasonable chunk of the pie, so we have to pay attention to it. So another sort of interesting. Got my first couple solutions put together with the board-based solutions, but they were having trouble with finding servers that had the slots, or having trouble with scaling limitations, the amount of CPU horsepower that those boards were using to do some difficult things like transcoding and echo cancellation was a challenge. They were really obviously hard to install and hard to repair. Sort of the words here in quotes, boards have been there, done that, and they're ready to move on to something that would scale better. And of course, that was the SIP architecture, using a decomposed model where the software application using either gateways or IP phones to build a more complex solution. So almost right away we started to see some customer projects that we're going to talk about in a few minutes when we get to the case study portion. Where you'll get to see some of the really innovative things that people have been built. But moving to the SIP architecture is not quite as simple as some found out. There's sort of some lurking dangers in the SIP architecture, and I bulleted those out here on this slide here. And one of them is we've heard people talk about sort of the dumb gateways. There are gateways in the market that were asterisk designed purely for asterisk type solutions, which makes them simple, which is good on one hand, but what they found is that they really limit the things that they can do going forward. So some of the resiliency and survivability tools of call routing were missing in those kinds of applications. So we sort of warn people about, watch out for these dumb gateways. They may be easy to use today, but they may not get you down the road in the long haul. And also, too, the challenge was the interoperability. If you spend all this time and energy to learn how to use this, we would like to be able to apply that knowledge to other platforms. So, and this includes homologations. Making sure that if you build an application, you can sell it around the world, not be limited to either just North American markets or, in some cases, Asian markets. And of course, quality's always been a challenge, right? So you usually get what you pay for. So what I wanted to just share with you folks today is we've got this product portfolio that we've been using for a huge, diverse combination of applications. Again, from what we've been doing with Microsoft and what we've done with Avaya and others. These are tools that are at your disposal, and I'll show you some case studies in a few moments that have been built around these kinds of platforms. So it ranges from our analog gateways, so the media packs, which I know a lot of you folks are probably aware of, and also our digital gateways, the Median series from our Median 800 and our brand new Median 850 up through our Median 1000 are real good fits, plus of course our IP phones. So these are the kinds of platforms that we've seen applications built on for open source solutions. And here's a typical architecture that we've seen is that what we're finding is maybe a distributed business. It might be a retail, it might be banking, it might be hospitality, any one of those different verticals with branch offices or remote facilities using at their data center, it's sort of quote unquote private cloud, possibly building a solution with asterisk, and they're using our Median 1000 to integrate that asterisk solution either into TDM or SIP trunks. And then in some cases, you may even be running the asterisk application inside the gateway. And this is one of the unique things that these platforms have is the opportunity to run the software application on a dedicated CPU module that fits inside the unit. We call it an OSN, which stands for Open Solution Network. That's the idea, is that you can bring your software and you can run it inside our gateway, and we give you a dedicated sort of sandbox, I'll call it, to run that software. But using, again, cloud, a private cloud of the enterprise to then connect into remote sites, either using, again, a smaller version of our devices you can see in the upper left with the Median 800, or our analog gateways, like the Media Pack devices, just integrated in analog phones and fax machines and those kinds of devices. So this is a very common architecture, and you'll see it as we get into many of the case studies. So just a little bit of detail on the specific platforms. Again, I mentioned the Median 1000 and Median 800. They share a common core software architecture and some hardware commonality. Big differences is in modularity. The Median 1000 is based on a chassis that has modules that can be inserted and removed. That allows very custom configurations to be built for each individual site, either with T1s or E1s or analog or session border controller sessions. It's a real sort of mix and match with the optional OSN modules, giving tremendous flexibility to our resellers and partners that are building solutions around asterisk. The Median 800 and 850 are downsized a little bit, and also mechanically much more simple, which allows them to be reduced cost, much more cost effective. The only real challenge for them is that they are what they are when they come from the factory. If they've got 4 analog ports or they've got 12 switch ports, and that's what they are from. They're not field upgradable, as opposed to Media 1000 can be upgraded or enhanced in the field. So 2 great platforms we think that are a good fit for this. The Median 850 in the bottom right-hand corner also offers Wi-Fi functionality, router functionality, so it's kind of a neat appliance that would fit in nicely for remote offices where you want to install one single device. We also have a couple of phones. They're standard sort of business class HD phones, based on SIP. They've been certified and used in a number of different applications. We've gotten really good reviews from. Matter of fact, one of our partners, our reseller partners, told me the other day. He said, it's got the best GUI in the industry, easiest to use and to configure because it uses the same software that's inside our analog gateways. So if once you learn our gateways, you can learn our phones real easy because it's the same basic user interface and same protocols. And of course, our analog gateways for integrating in, again, legacy phones and fax devices and analog trunking. So a couple of case studies I want to share with you as we wrap up the session here. We have a customer here in Hova Networks, based down in Mexico, and they did an expansion into Brazil. And basically, Hova works with the cruise line industry, which, as you imagine, has ports of call or offices in all different locations. And what they were looking for is to better integrate those offices together and to provide office-to-office communications over the internet. And to do that, they selected our Media 1000 running asterisk on the OSN modules to provide IPPBX functionality in their Mexico office and also in their branch offices in Brazil and a branch office in Mexico with an integrated dial plan. They also integrated in some SIP trunks, leveraging the ESBC function at a later time. So they were able to use the flexibility of the Media 1000 to expand into using SIP trunks in addition to TDM trunks. And again, there's a case study. All these, by the way, can be found on our case studies page at audiocodes.com/case studies, a much more detailed write-up. Another example of kind of application that was built, and this one uses our phones too, was a Hebrew University in Israel, in Jerusalem. This is the second oldest university in Israel with 23,000 students, a big university. We're expanding their computer science department and building, and they selected FreeSwitch as their open source platform, and they used our 320 HD phones and our Media Pack as endpoint devices because they saw them as very cost effective, very easy to use, and appreciated many of the powerful features that the devices had for the new facility. And again, we've got plenty of case studies. A couple others here. Just wanted to point out we've got SmartNet, Centec, and a significant bank in Donga. And one of the interesting customers we also have in Argentina is Denwa. And what Denwa did is they became an OEM customer to AudioCodes, using our Median 800 as a platform to build a custom packaged device. You can see in the photo in the bottom right that they sell as a complete turnkey IPPBX, all based on Asterisk. And we're real pleased that they won a Communication Solution of the Year this last year with this OEM solution. So I always like to leave folks with a couple of URLs they can do some browsing if they're interested in doing some further reading. So I'll leave this up here, and maybe we'll turn it over to Randy to maybe some Q&A or some other.
Yeah, let's see if there's any questions. First of all, Mr. Brian West is with us. What Brian doesn't know. Go ahead, Brian.
Am I muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay, good. I know you guys also ship many of your gateways with FreeSwitch on it as well. I can't find the application notes on it, but I have read some notes that were published about how to set up FreeSwitch on these gateways, and you guys are actually shipping it that way.
Well, we in certain parts of the world, we do offer a pre-configured version of the gateway, and some of our partners also do that. So some of our reseller partners buy the gateway with the OSN module, then integrate in either FreeSwitch or various versions of Asterisk and offer it as a package solution. Here in North America, we don't sell a gateway with FreeSwitch or any IPv6 software preloaded. We do that sort of out of respect of our other partners that build applications out of that. But down in Latin America, and I think in Eastern Europe,
Israel.
Yep.
One.
Yep, we do sell a prepackaged device with a version of Asterisk or I think in some cases FreeSwitch as under a brand name we call Business Plus, which is a pre-bundled, prepackaged solution. So yes, we do, just not here in North America. So it's pretty neat.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, who else might have some questions? Andy looks perplexed, but not necessarily having a question. I don't know.
I may have a question.
Oh, great, Michael.
One of the things that caught my attention some time ago, and sorry to dive off into a niche, it is my nature. You guys were supporting a really diverse codec set in your desk phones, or at least it appeared that way. And it looked like you were doing things like AMR wideband. And can you tell us about anybody who's doing that kind of sort of wireline mobile integration or FMC or this kind of stuff, and where that fits for you guys?
Yeah, it's a good question, and maybe just sort of share for the rest of the audience. I think I understand where you're going a little bit. One of the interesting things about voice codecs for the industry is that one of the downsides of going to open standards is that everybody can have a standard, right? So there's many different voice codecs. Many times they're for specialized applications. There's a class of codec that's typically used in wireline applications, and there's another class of voice codecs that work in wireless. And the reason why they're different is because the wireless networks are obviously they have much more loss or much more lossier, right? If there is such a word. And therefore, they have different codecs. And AMR is a good example. And wideband AMR is a very high-quality audio codec that a lot of the HD mobile sets support. And we've implemented that codec in some of our gateways and in some of our transcoding media servers, and also in some of the desktop phones. And folks have found this to be a helpful tool for integrating into mobile applications because they don't have to transcode. So yes, we've done some interesting work with G722, AMR wideband. We've also recently implemented RTA, Microsoft's real-time audio voice codec inside the phones, and also working with Microsoft strategically on what are they going to do with Silk.
Brian made a comment in IRC, which he may or may not want to repeat on the audio.
Yeah, 722 is just, it's nice, but I want to go further than that. I like actually G722 1C, Opus, Celt, some of the Silk variants, anything wider than 16K. I don't know, once you actually hear, like say a Polycom 6000 with a 32K codec, end-to-end, 722 is like stepping back to 8K.
Yeah, Brian, you're at about 13K though right now, so that's an interesting comment coming from you.
This headset right here is the reason.
Of course.
It's they sold it to me as a wideband headset, but they forgot to say only when you're using the USB.
How wide is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
hear
only
you.
16K is what it'll do.
I hear you. Matter of fact, we're very, obviously since we manufacture HD equipment, we're very sensitive to the voice quality. You're right. G722 is, I'll call it the first step into the HD world. It's like color television versus black and white, but it's not HD like an HD television. Some of the wideband codecs like RTA, AMR wideband, others have even greater fidelity, sometimes approaching what you would hear in CD recorded music, which, by the way, is not necessarily always good. Just always pushing to a greater wideband codec has some slight downsides. One of them is technical, right? So you require additional MIPS, sometimes additional memory to be able to handle those wideband codecs. And in a mobile device, every CPU cycle costs battery time. So sometimes it's not necessarily always good. But also from a usability standpoint, we've actually discovered that too much HD exposes things like, wrinkling newspapers on a desktop or background noise. Matter of fact, this morning was on one of my coworkers, and I could hear her dog drinking water from the bowl, 2 rooms away. And if I was on a regular phone call, I would have never heard that, but I was able to hear it on our HD call. So we say one of the problems with HD is it exposes the fact that you're munching on potato chips while you're on a conference call.
We're really in the era. You said color TV. It's funny because if you maybe no one here or even listening to this realize this, but when I was a kid, we got the first color TV transmissions, and it was a big deal. And it's true that HD today, we're kind of in that color TV. Oh, there's something in color on, so it's like, yeah, right. G722, cool, and it is cool, but it is only the beginning. I agree with you, Alan. It's the beginning, and the other thing is the trap you mentioned, and we've talked about this a million times here, including 20 minutes ago, and also Michael and I on a related topic of a different app on iPad and so on, is that regardless of how good your fidelity is, if you've got room echo, for example, I'm talking to a microphone now specifically, and you guys have headsets. If you don't have either of those two, you may have great echo cancellation, but there's probably going to be, if you're in an office or even a conference room, there's going to be a little room echo. And that immediately screws things up, whether you're HD or not. It may be even worse in HD. So it's not just the bandwidth or the so-called HD ticket that's going to help.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, it's always a balance point between deciding, do I want to minimize the amount of CPU, but then maybe sacrifice some audio quality and maybe sacrifice bandwidth, and vice versa. I want the highest possible quality, and it depends on the event. So, for example, a webinar or a conference call like this, having additional fidelity would be nice, but maybe a conversation while I'm talking to somebody walking, like last night I was trying to talk to my wife, was walking down the streets of Washington, D.C., and the wind noise was just killing the conversation. So, it varies based on the situation. I guess we're lucky now because we have the opportunity to have different codecs for different situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any questions, either listening? I'm looking at IRC. I don't, there's something about beating your head on the table with SIP. I'm not sure.
Well, support for WebRTC.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know what all those R&D people in Tel Aviv are up to. So can you give us some kind of idea what they're doing? And I'm particularly interested in WebRTC and all of the ancillary bits. I would love it if AudioCodes produced a gateway to directly support WebRTC, and if that isn't a cue for Tim Panton to come flying in from left of stage, I don't know what is.
Well, we have not formally announced anything with our WebRTC strategy, so unfortunately I can't share that information. But I will tell you that obviously the team in Israel is heavily focused on next-gen communication solutions like WebRTC. We also too we're investing pretty heavily right now in our appliance strategy for these multi-service business routers. This is an area that we're discovering that as these distributed businesses are moving to unified communications, that they see significant value in having a single appliance that can terminate their broadband, can provide the router, the firewall, a session border controller, LAN switch, power over Ethernet, the whole shoot match, including the application, into a single device, Wi-Fi access for new 850 median came to be.
Every car rental agency in the country needs that for every local branch, and then attack banking and other businesses as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's as a matter of fact, it's sad but true is I think we learned a big lesson this last couple of weeks about the frailty of our IP infrastructure. That I know even in our own business, our office in New Jersey is still not 100% back up. We lost connectivity through one of our ISPs, and they cannot figure out a way to get it back up again. And it's pretty painful.
Indeed.
A lot of the towers. I don't know what the deal is with the towers. I would have thought there should be probably a cue the laugh track here. I'm an innocent kind of a novice here. I would have thought that there would be all kinds of backup for these towers and multiplicity, whatever, multiple, whatever it's called. But the point is, a tower goes down, and everybody in that area apparently is down as well. I'm talking about cells, of course, not
right.
The rest. But
yeah, I think one of the biggest problems was power, wasn't it? And if you take the mains power off, you probably got 24, 48 hours on batteries, and then you're dead.
But,
I think we have a speculation that we lost our internet connectivity to the office about 72 hours after the storm. So we have a sneaking suspicion somebody's generator ran out of fuel.
Yeah, sounds right.
So.
Or even the big battery backup.
I don't want to. I don't want to. It's tough for those of us who live down here in Hurricane Alley, where hurricanes are relatively more commonplace. But you're touching on things that are just absolutely reality for us, and that is, your UPSs only get you so many minutes or so many hours, then your generators are going to run up, and their fuel tanks are only going to last so long, and if fuel supplies don't kick in, if you don't have gas stations being refueled, then you have to have really specialty contingent plans that says, we've got 1,000 gallons or more on site. And of course, what business does that unless they are a certain kind of a business? But absolutely. And so keeping your little appliances, if I'm at some outlying office with one of these median 850s, and I've got something that I can run on a little 5 kilowatt generator for a week. Right. Hey, that's just awesome.
Yep, exactly. Well, and it's the key thing is too, by the way, is to keep the branch offices going, even though the data center or the private cloud may be struggling. It may be struggling either because of just power and air conditioning at the central site, or maybe struggling because of connectivity. But the point is to make it so that branch office, that branch bank, or that insurance agent, especially the insurance agents, that he has some fundamental capability to continue to do his business, even though he loses his connectivity to the cloud. And that's an area that we've invested heavily in.
Hey, speaking of air conditioning, are these fanless devices? Are these things that can survive operating at above average temperatures for a while, or below average temperatures for a while?
Yeah, some of them are fanless. The MediaPaks and the Median 800 are fanless. That family are fanless. The 1000 and up though do have fans built into them.
And so down here we don't have the problem of things freezing, but we do have the problem of things getting really hot when you don't have enough power to run your air conditioning.
I bet. Yep. Well, I'm sure that's a challenge. That would, of course, be all part of the design of the data center, right? Selecting what's the maximum ambient that the equipment needs to run at.
Yeah, that's true.
Looking to see if I see a Carl Fife, because it's pretty much his moment here, but he is not with us today, unfortunately. Anyone have any questions or comments for our guest, Alan, Percy, first of all, and second of all, otherwise we'll conclude. Not second of all, but otherwise we'll conclude. And I'm looking at IRC. Nothing is moving. Maybe that screen's frozen. No, nothing's moving.
The most interesting for me, Alan, is the realization that your desk phones support AMR. I hadn't fathomed that. And as we're a mobile operator who uses AMR extensively, that could be quite useful. So, for one, I'm going to be looking at your desk phones. see whether we can do anything with those. I hadn't realized that. So that's useful.
Good. Good, very good. Well, first of all, yeah, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for spending some time with me today and inviting me to the call. And
yeah, where have you been, Alan? Where have you been? Come on.
I know. Sorry about that. But I'm looking forward to jumping on these and listening in. I can't wait to hear what others have to say, too. I always appreciate hearing what you folks are up to.
Okay, cool, Alan. Let's just conclude with ways to contact you, because you're kind of at a high level, so if people want to do that, or obviously if it's just a simple contact, they would go to audiocodes.com. But what's a good way to hook up with you?
Sure.
Are you on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, the best thing to do, obviously, I spend a lot of time in LinkedIn every day. The social media platforms. So the first thing to do is I'd love to have everyone use a connection in LinkedIn. So feel free to jump on and do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mirror a lot of what I'm doing on LinkedIn over on Twitter. So if you just find that easier, that's fine too. But LinkedIn's probably the best way. And certainly an email. And it's very easy. It's alan.percy@audiocodes.com. I can move the slide back to that slide. I think I got.
Okay. And look who's joined us. Brian, you recognize this guy?
Anthony.
It is. Alan, you probably have many things to do, so we should probably let you go. We'll continue this a little bit because we've got plenty of time for the hour here. We will go on with the Hangout, and is that me that's frozen, or is everybody so wrapped in what I'm saying? No, you got. Oh, thank you, Andy. Okay, a bunch of wiggling heads now. Alan, you've been a great guest. It's really fun to have you, and if at any time you feel like joining us again, please do, and just shoot me an email. If you have a presentation, we'd love to have a presentation.
Will do. I'll absolutely be back, and I'll be listening in.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. So unlike most times, we're not going to just kill this. We'll go ahead and continue for a couple of minutes. And it seems, tell us about the free switch call, you guys, because that's starting soon or now or what? Because they can go on that. And
yeah, it's all day today.
That's John. I know. God, I love when you get when you intervene, John, because I know your voice. You could probably say one syllable and I'd know.
Really? My goodness.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I haven't gone on there today, but it's supposed to be all day.
It's all day. Well, what is all day?
It starts in the afternoon. Yeah, it starts in the afternoon.
Usually it's in the afternoon, but they have the bridge open.
Is that voice or voice and video?
No, they don't do
video.
No,
just voice, and it's only they don't have the wideband codec. It's just the.
Oh dear, no wideband.
We have them all the way up to Opus 48K.
No, but not on that conference line though.
No wideband.
If you call in via SIP, you do.
Oh,
if you
come
call
on.
in via the PSTN,
it's got to be Opus.
No, but even via SIP, it never. I have a lot of them configured. It never does them.
You must have something misconfigured because we call into it all the time with wideband.
Not with 9888.
Yes.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to check that. I thought that you reserved the wideband for the other, the other conferences.
You know what, John? If you were talking in wideband, your voice would be even more distinctive.
That's true.
Probably.
It would be wonderful. So we've got to get you, John, in on wideband. It's the only way to go.
On this system, I can be on wideband if I use FreeSwitch directly as a soft phone, which I have to rejigger my stuff to do. But
rejigger, is that a verb?
Yeah, it's it's drink a jigger or I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, talking about words, what does that mean? That word homo, whatever it was.
Homologation, James. I know it because it was a word that I had to practice to say in French. They go, when we get the homologation, it means it's an approval. It's a stamp.
Very, very good word. I've written it down. It's my word for today.
Homologation. The other one was interrupt routine, which in French is routine d'interruption.
I haven't tried that.
Uh-oh, John. You need to...
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thinking to myself.
Thinking to yourself?
No. Hey, Randy, how are you doing? I'm back.
Hey, all right.
Oh, good heavens. We have Ken here, too. Look at that.
Hey, what's
Yeah,
going on, Ricky? How are you doing?
All right.
Well, we had
Yeah, no, I was going
Kenny
to say,
in
Randy,
video too.
every day, yeah, my bandwidth seems to be going to crap. I'm going to blame it on CenturyLink.
It's,
I live in a region where the phone company has been the same phone company for probably 60 years, and they
Be good at
are
it by
still
now.
called the same name.
yeah, where are,
U.S. worst.
yeah, geographically,
Still
where
called
are,
CenturyTail.
where are you, Ken, geographically?
Geographically, I am near Memphis, Tennessee, about that's east southeast of the city, in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's a marvel that you're joining us at all, and that you had some video. I'm hugely impressed.
Well, it's I don't actually spoke with with one of the techs at Delec the other day, and they said they're starving for bandwidth out here. So it's been quite a pain, needless to say. But Randy and the rest of you guys is on Fridays on the Free Switch Conference Bridge. We do the Friday. We usually start about 3 o'clock Eastern or so. But the bridge is open all day. If you wants to join us, come hang out. There is no particular topic of discussion. We do everything from freight trains to free switch and everything in between.
Freight trains, okay. Nice.
But it's just, like I said, it's an open format, and you never know who's going to show up on the bridge.
Okay, the villagers are coming with torches, and they're asking for the SIP URL. Actually, URI, I think he meant.
The URI, and I'll also post it into the IRC channel,
Please
is SIP at conference.freeswitch.org.
There you go. 888 at conference.free. Oh, bravo. 888 at conference.freeswitch.org. We have about 5 more minutes. Anthony, let's hear what you have to say for yourself.
Well, I'm kind of in a disadvantage because my headset's not working right.
Well, that doesn't help things then, does
I
it?
have two.
Hey,
I
have a question for these guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
First, bravo for first Opus support known in the universe outside of labs. But secondly, about the nature of that support. There's a lot of things in Opus that have to do with sort of sensitivity to the transmission environment and adaptability. So, to what degree do you set up Opus in a fixed fashion at the moment, or is it sort of statically configurable, or is it more interactive? Are you working on anything about sort of RTMP interactivity or that kind of thing?
I think that basically the API, the codec designed where you set it up in advance as a default, and then decoder and encoder talk to each other and start figuring things out mid-call. From the user's perspective, everything is 48K. So no matter what is actually going on, they'll just give you 48K fine linear, and then they do the rest of it. There's some more advanced things like forward error correction. We have that working in Silk, so we're going to add that into Opus too. I think, Brian, you were working on that, weren't you?
Yes. Me and one of the community members were working on it last week. I do actually have it working in Silk. We have to take that same approach and apply it to Mod Opus at this point. So you can have 20% packet loss, and you really never even can tell it.
Let's just take let's make a little calculation. Echo plus packet loss plus bandwidth that probably goes back close to dial-up times. Is there a name for that?
Hell. No, actually, I think it's called Oklahoma.
Oh, don't get me. Oklahoma. Oh, I can't sing because we're on YouTube. I can't.
No, don't sing, Randy, please.
I'll play bass.
Or trombone.
Oh, that's right. That's all approved. All right, 3 more minutes for somebody to get their chops in if you're ready. I don't think probably equals customer. I would have said custom. You know,
And what about?
Go ahead.
Sorry. What about? Can you specify some of the low latency modes of Opus as well? Then, so you could set it up. I was thinking, what if we put together a conference where we were going to do some collaborative jamming? Let's put it that way. We get Randy on bass or guitar, and we could put together a VUC band, right? So we could do 48 kilohertz, low latency interactivity across half the planet.
Well, that's part of what we're going to be adding to Mod Opus is the ability to add those options in the FMPP on the SIP and be able to parse them on inbound so that the codecs and everything would line up and do exactly what you want when the call is set up.
Remember when we first tried out Kelt, we did do that, just to see, but we didn't have very many devices. It's kind of the same problem you guys were talking about earlier with the. I had that in mind. I'm on the same one actually. It says it's a 16K headset, but not always. And the quality of the equipment that's sampling your voice is first line of defense, So back when we first tried Kelt, which was 48 kilohertz, I only had one machine in my entire house that could do it, which was my Mac, because they decided to make everything 48K that long ago. And then there was really nothing I could plug in. I didn't have a mic that could even sample good enough to make a difference, so I plugged my guitar right into it.
And I think you discovered exactly the right approach, though, and that is a lot of this stuff. At a certain point, it completely leaves the realm of telephony, and it becomes more like remote production audio. So if you start looking at the tools that musicians use, the tools that broadcasters use, the tools that recording facilities use, you'll find, okay, you can get a really inexpensive, high-quality microphone that. It might not be it might not be a decked microphone, although you can get those. They're just not expensive or not cheap. So, as I find that I'm sort of walking the line between some stuff that's telephony, voice conferencing, video conferencing, and the broadcast production world. And
because a lot of times they tend to be polar opposites because you have this when you're trying to work in telephony. Like your main goal is the real-time aspect of the audio, so at all costs you want to have the latency down, even if it means throwing away some of the audio because you can't afford to build up a delay. And on the other side of the extreme is you can't lose any of the quality. You must always have every bit of the data, and then it's kind of like a lot of bandwidth in those environments. And one of the things that using the 2 millisecond P time across the wide area network didn't work so great. Like inside of the LAN it worked fine, but you have to go through a lot of different switches at a 2 millisecond interval. It doesn't always work so well because you have things that will drop in and detect, too much traffic, or you overload the switch somewhere in the middle of the connection. So that's one of the challenges. But yeah, there's the cool thing about Opus for me is it might pave the way to make it stereo. Get some stereo devices and do stereo voice too, because that's really the first standardized codec to support it. And we kind of started bumming for it all along, but there was really nothing to play with to bother doing it. So now we actually have something. So it's kind of the same way with the HD audio. We put in the code for it into FreeSwitch, and there's only one phone that could do it, but now they all can. So we were ready for them. It happening.
Nice.
Sorry.
Okay.
We've got a new toolkit here, and it does all kinds of ridiculous things.
I think it's time to...
it probably is.
Move, really, to end the broadcast on YouTube, just simply because they get so long that
Hey, Randy.
Yes, John.
So how is my voice now?
Oh, wideband, John.
Give
That's
us a
good.
sample, John. Give us a
That's
sample.
good. That's wideband.
Give us a sample. The rain in Spain.
Come on, John, say something.
Say something, John.
Well, I don't have a headset.
There was only enough.
I have just that's right. I just have the mic here, and So I'm just doing what I can do. I switched to free switch from my FS client so I could get all the right codecs in the right order, and so now things are. And I tried the free switch conference, and it does look like I'm in wideband.net. It sounds good.
It sounds pretty wideband. It's sounding good.
I think that's a perfect place to do this. Had you stayed to the end, find more at VUC.me. We will be back, though. As usual, thanks so much to Voxel Labs for their support, Sangoma.com, Onsip.com, E4Strategies.com. The great wideband audio comes from ZipDX.com, a great full-featured conferencing system. Thank you, David Frankel. Locally from VUC. This really is a great group of people, and we welcome your call. Don't be afraid to talk. Go to VUC.me for further contact info. Back in a moment with the mature audiences version.